Hello. My name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Executive Talk. Those that are here watching live and also those that will be watching on Facebook Live, also on YouTube or watching on live TV, thank you so much for joining in. If you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, one of those mediums, make sure that you understand that you can leave comments. And what we'll do here at Executive Talk is make sure that we communicate with you, answer any questions or respond to any statements that you have. We want to make sure that everybody knows that this is an interactive show. Again, we want to make sure everybody understands where we're going with this and what God's message has for you and what we can do as business owners to change the direction and some of the dynamics in our business. Ultimately, our goal is to have a kingdom-based business. And so that's what we're here to talk about here at Executive Talk, is how to lead you towards that direction of success by following God's pathway into your life, into your business. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic. We're actually on part 3 of our series right now. And just to get you guys up to speed, let's talk about, and as you guys have noticed in a lot of the shows, and for those that are first timers, we've been talking a lot about your youth. Because a lot of our story is stuck in our youth because it shows up in our present days as adults. And today, in today's illustration in this series, we're talking about pain as an overall over-consuming. We're not talking about one specific pain that's leading up. We're talking about overall. So in your youth, if there's pain, if you suffered abuse, if you've had issues with your father or with your mother or both parties or whatever that looked like in your childhood, that stuff carries along with you. It goes undetected. You don't know what's going on. Parents may not know what's going on, but it's something that you keep on growing through. But you physically has grown, but has the heart itself grown? Hasn't matured yet? Hasn't gotten to that same point that you are? So if this pain in your youth goes untouched, let's go ahead and make sure that we understand the power of the heart. Because again, here on earth, we talk about the mind a lot, which the mind is very important. It is something that you can't waste. But why don't we talk about the heart? Why is the heart always missed? And that's part of the challenges that we're having. Because again, in Proverbs 4:23, it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Okay, so we just got through talking about the pain that you may have experienced in your youth, but it says right here, for everything you do flows from it. So every decision that you made or that you didn't make, there was a heart decision, it flowed from it. So that pain will continuously flow through your life undetected, and you may not know what's going on. So again, as an adult, the more because again, let's think about adulthood. Let's say from 0 to 18 to 21, whatever that looks like as far as adulthood, that starts to turn into darkness. Okay, it starts to become your story if it goes undetected. Because again, that's everything that you're operating from, it flows from it. And so all the decisions that you're still making are from that root of that pain. And so as for an adult, it turns into darkness. That's where we run into stumbling blocks. But again, that same darkness, we haven't dealt with it, but again, we chose to still become business owners. Or we're aspiring to become business owners. One of the two is happening in our lifetime, but again, we're taking something, which is our heart, and we're inputting into something such as business, which has so much impact. It has so much impact upon the people here on earth, because again, that business, it becomes exciting, it becomes alluring. You start to boast about it to your friends and you talk about it to your family. Everybody gets a little excited. Everybody has mixed emotions about that business ownership. But people start to look at you a lot differently when you step into, and it is one of those things that we exalt ourselves into. There's a difference between being called into something and being exalted into something. And there's a difference here. So it leads you to the topic of this series. It's illuminating the darkness in your business. And the last week's show that we discussed, we had started to talk about oppression. That's where we had left off in last week's show, and I will really advise you to take a look at it. It is a deep show, and it definitely provides context for what we're talking about here today and why the word oppression is so prevalent. I want you to understand this. And I'm certain that you guys have probably read some books or heard psychology or whatever, but victims of pain develop into oppressors. Does that make sense? Victims of pain develop into oppressors. After a while, there is something about your life that you say, you know what, this is not complete. Okay? And then everybody else, it becomes yourself against the world. When you have this pain and it's not dealt with, when the Bible talks about having a hardened heart, okay? It's a heart that's alienated from God. Right now, you have a heart, you know, if you're going through this pain, if you're coming to this place, your heart is hard. You don't trust anybody. Everybody is against you. You're looking around, you know, with your head on the swivel, trying to figure out what's going on, who's coming to get you. Okay? Part of your heart condition says, you know what, I'm not going to let anything like that ever happen to me again, so I'm going to take control of my circumstances. And part of being a business owner is you have control over your circumstances. You finally gain that control. You gain that say-so. But if you're gaining that say-so with a hardened heart, and you're still in this victim place, and your heart still hurts, and then you're an oppressor all in the same boat. You married the two. You married your heart to a business where it has access to a lot of people. Oppression. This is not biblical. I looked this up. This comes to the Webster Dictionary. Prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. If you look through the Bible, this word oppression shows up a lot. Okay, it's very important to the Lord. This word is so important to the Lord. Okay, all the pain that he sees comes and stems from this place of oppression. You think about Pharaoh's heart. You think about Pharaoh. There is an oppressive spirit about him. So again, prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. So again, if you feel like the world is against you, this is what their heart condition looks like. Prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. How do I know? How many, you can look back through through the archives of our shows. How many employees are so excited about their boss when they go home? I thought, oh, I have the best boss ever. You don't hear that too often anymore, do you? And systemically, year after year after year, you just notice that the boss is like the worst person. The best person because they have the paycheck, but the worst person because of the treatment that they feel is happening in the office space. So as a business owner, this is how people are responding to you. Because again, there's some hardened heart. There's some other stuff going on, and we're going to dive into that other stuff. This is that owner scenario. As a business owner, part of us, and again, part of this when it comes to business ownership, one of the conversations that we had, and I've had a few of these conversations over time, is business owner, this is a scenario where a business owner got into the business that they did and chose what they chose because, again, part of their goal, their end mission was I'm going to sell my company to Google. I'm going to build it up. And in 15 years, I'm going to approach Google with my business, with these revenues. I'm going to sell it and I'm going to retire. Now, on earth, as we discussed in last week's show, that sounds like a phenomenal idea. That's like really forward thinking. You're looking into the future. But why is this scenario off key? To the conversation, it seems like that is a very smart business owner, again, very intelligent. But if we look at it, again, acts of the flesh are obvious, and one of the acts of flesh is selfish ambition. As an oppressor, you're not going to think about anybody else. You're thinking about your end game because you have to get to some point. Okay? And so the selfish ambition starts to shape your company. It attacks your systems and attacks everybody that's involved in the company. Because again, you're focused on something completely different and you're bringing other parties with you. And so that's why this thing is so important that we really keyed on this particular topic, because you're opening up the door to something that you're unaware of. And it's very big. To look at this here. Some of the heart conditions of oppressors. They're embarrassed about their heart condition. Not too many people are really excited about their pain that they're going through. You don't go off and share, hey, I got issues. Hey, how about you? You don't have those type of conversations. Usually we try to fast forward through these moments and we just keep on pressing through. Don't worry about your emotions. Don't deal with it. They don't matter. Just stay strong mentally and talk yourself into life and just keep it going. Okay? But again, there's a part of you that becomes embarrassed about your heart condition. You don't like that. You don't like the fact of the way that you feel. You won't know about it because they don't know or deny it. You may not even know that you have a heart condition. You may think that you're okay. I was one of those people who I didn't know I had a heart condition. I had no clue. I knew I had pain, but I didn't understand the heart condition behind it or where it stemmed from. So I just denied it. Bad communicators. A lot of bosses are looked at as bad communicators. Why are they bad communicators? Again, you can only if you're having a heart condition, you want to make sure people don't let in on your heart condition. So you're going to just say just enough, and you may even stop them at, okay, don't talk, just listen to me. Okay, we're moving on. So there's no communication because, again, a bad communicator or a person with a heart condition doesn't want you to start asking questions that may ignite how they feel and how they truly feel inside. So again, it's a level of avoidance, but that's the heart condition of an oppressor. And so that becomes a reality within that office space. So again, that creates a condition, that creates a way of operating. So let's talk about the real bridge of the office. This is where we start getting in deep. If I have trust issues and I'm the business owner, okay, I'm the business owner, I want to do business, but I have trust issues. My trust issues are so bad, I don't even want to deal with people. But guess what? I have a 15-year goal to sell my company to Google, so I have to open up some level of trust to make sure you come in to help me get there. Do you see how backwards that is? I'm not going to come in and let you know that I have trust issues, but the only way I can manage the trust issues that I have with people is to make sure this idol is in the middle, and that's money. So that becomes my carrot. All right, I'll offer you this much. So this becomes our communication tool. So this employee over here, they have trust issues also, but they know they need that resource for their finances and for their lifestyle. So they're willing to conform, even unknowingly, because I'm not going to tell you that I'm trying to sell my company in 15 years. I'm going to sell you just all the glamour of it all. Okay? But I'm not going to tell you the back end reason, my selfish ambition as to what this thing is all about. So I come in, and this employee over here came in, not for you, but also the meeting ground and the communication is the money. That's why you find in the office space why people always try to negotiate, and they'll say, I'll stay with this company for 5 years, and if it's not working, I'll go find something else. I'll stay with this money for 5 years, and then I'll go find something else. The communication to the employee is always surrounded somewhere around about the money. And that's where you start to find the oppressive nature within the office space. Because a false idol has taken the connectivity out of Ephesians 6, 5 through 9. That's how you start to tear up the scriptures. Now, Proverbs 23, 7, with this oppressor, we don't know it, but in scripture, it describes the heart condition and what a heart really looks like when you're dealing with the oppressor. Do not eat the food of a begrudging host. Do not crave his delicacies, for he is the kind of person who is always thinking about the cost. Okay, he's always thinking about something else. Not thinking about the moment that's happening, but they're always thinking about the cost and, you know what? I don't know. I'm thinking about something else. So eat and drink. So the proposal, the mouth and everything else looks glorious. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. When that absentee heart, that is the painful situation. Above all else, when it comes to people and their connection to people, when they reach out and there's no connection to a heart, that is the way that you can oppress anybody in any environment, is the lack of availability of this heart. So again, everything looks like it, but what are people connected to? A person's heart. That's the real love between people and between business owners and employees. And through Ephesians 6:5-9, it's based on the heart being connected. But if that heart is not connected, if a business owner and an employee can't connect at the heart, well, it becomes an oppressive environment already. So again, an oppressed office space. I want you to notice the size of the heart here. This heart becomes bigger because, again, this person is, this business owner over here has put themselves on a place of because he's exalted himself or herself, has put herself on the pedestal. And so that heart becomes an oppressive heart. So that means I can dangle carrots. And again, that oppression happens, and these are thorns and thistles within the office space. So each of these employees are feeling the oppression of that office space and the thorns and thistles of it all. That's where you get, so how do I know? Maurice, are you just trying to make anything up? Well, then do the math after I say this. So have you got that employee who came in the office, is really excited about being there for the first 3 months, and then all of a sudden, oh, I got to go to work. Is there another holiday coming up on a Monday? Because I need a day off. I need to get away from this. Oh, my goodness, I need to go home. And then, okay, what's going on when they get home? I am so tired. I don't want to do anything. So with their family and the whole environment that they have going on, they're disconnected from their family because work still has them consumed. That's a good sign of an oppressive environment when you don't even want to go to a place, and also when you take that place home with you and it still takes you away from the environment at the house. So if you agree with that, leave a comment. And so you understand exactly where I'm coming from. That oppressed office space is what it is. And there's a lot to pay attention to that. That oppressive environment is important. And again, the Lord is looking at it from a lot of different angles that we don't think. Because again, as a business owner, we're thinking, well, they better come to work. They want to get paid. But see, one thing that we understand about these employees start making commitments based on what they're making financially outside of that. So they become trapped in that office space. So they can't make any extra moves that they're looking to make. And that's one thing that business owners actually know. And again, specifically, that's one thing that the enemy specifically knows about what people will do. And let me help you understand something. Last week, I told you that I had the honor of researching sheep. If you want to see where I got this information from, go to www.sheep101.info and look up sheep behavior. Interesting read. Sheep behavior. Sheep have a strong instinct to follow the sheep in front of them. Okay, so in this case, you're the business owner. So again, let's think about this. And the reason why we're talking about sheep is, does God call us wolves, or does God call us sheep? We are sheep. Every last one of it. If you consider yourself a wolf, we're good. Okay, let's make sure we understand where that is. But we're all sheep. Sheep have a strong instinct to follow the sheep in front of them. When one sheep decides to go somewhere, the rest of the flock usually follows, even if it's not a good decision. Do you see that? So we got to understand, just because, again, your goal, your selfish ambition is to sell your company to Google. So even if it's not a good decision, they may stay with you and follow you down there. For example, sheep will follow each other to the slaughter. Whoa. Whoa. So when you look at TV, when you look at everyday life, you're like, why would you go and follow that? When you ask your kids, would you go and jump off the bridge like they would? The answer is actually yes. It may not be a bridge, but it might be something else. Without understanding this knowledge, this is how sheep operate. And if God is looking at us as sheep, we can lead ourselves to the slaughter. Look at how we treat our lives. Let's think about that. If one sheep jumps over the cliff, the others are likely to follow. Even from birth, lambs are conditioned to follow the older members of the flock. So that can be a systemic thing that's going on. They can follow their grandparents' ways. This instinct is, go ahead and write this with me, hardwired. You understand how challenging that is to understand that I can lead myself to death, but it's hardwired. There's stuff that's hardwired in me that needs to be dealt with that I can't even get through myself. But as a sheep, I'm hardwired to do certain things. It is not something I even think about. This is why I would really, really request that you go look up that website and read some more about sheep. Because again, so in that environment, not only is the leader, okay, the oppressor, the business owner, have this opportunity. One thing that the enemy understands about people is that they're sheep. He understands these characteristics and behavior that they're likely to follow. They'll go to the slaughter. So he loves oppressors in that way because he can take as many people. Again, the enemy hates you, but he loves your access. So if you can get more people to come with you to the slaughter with you, the enemy's happy to just bless you or get some money your way. So you don't come away from it. Because as long as that oppressive environment becomes hardwired in you, you'll keep on following. Now, how do you know it's hardwired? Let's think about this. Conforming. We talked about conforming. It says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be renewed by the thinking of your mind. But conforming, remember, your employee, let's say there's no days off, no holidays. And let's say they're working 40 hours a week, 12 months out of the year. That equals out to 1,920 hours of an employee's life is spent at the job. Do you think it's easy to conform to an environment if you're spending that many hours at the job? Take off 300 hours just for the vacation, PTO, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, 1,620 hours. That's a lot of hours to be around an environment and understand why your employees will naturally come home. Oh, I'm so tired. They're having all these issues because they have conformed to that environment. In order to have the job, what do they have to do? They have to conform to that environment. The business owner is not going to have you inside that office if you're raising heck all the time. Okay? So understand, part of the employee, what they will do is conform to that environment after a while. Again, as an example earlier, oppressed people learn how to oppress themselves. So then again, I may love the job and I may start making financial commitments. I actually may even have issues with the job. As part of being a sheep, I may have issues with the job, but I'll still make financial commitments to it that trap me in that place where now the only job I can look for has to match that because of the commitments I made, or I have to stay there. So there is part of that sheepish behavior that leads themselves to the slaughter. Now, this is why this topic is so important, because we look at employees as business owners like, oh yeah, we got to treat them like children. Those are my kids over there. We laugh about it, we joke about it, but we got to understand this is not a laughing matter to God at all. Okay? Hear me on this. God is looking at this because I guarantee it's one of those things. When you have a brother and a sister or brother or whatever, you're sitting there, don't you go tell daddy that I did that. Don't you go tell mommy that I did that. You guys remember those conversations? Well, it's the same situation. While you think you got away with something and you got this successful business and you're all doing everything that you're doing on the back end, well, your employee is going through some things. They're stressed out. They're like, Lord, just help me out with this job. I mean, do you feel my pain? Do you see? They're going through something. They're talking to him. They're praying to him. And God is looking at his prayers, looking at he or she's prayers and like, where is that? Where is it? Oh, it's coming from this business owner. That is the catalyst to this employee's prayer. Interesting. In the scripture, it says God opposes the proud and favors the humble. Okay? So if you look into the scripture and understanding what's going on, the Lord is really concerned about what he sees in this moment and what the prayers of his sheep are saying. This is where James 5, 1 through 6 comes in. I don't know how often we spend scripture and read this, but this one, when I saw it, I was like, drop everything. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. The corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you have failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields and are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you. Why don't you let that sit for a minute and think about that? This oppressive environment, again, the enemy hates you but loves to access. But he loves to oppose, put you in opposition against God as well. And that is scripturally, that's what the enemy's job, because again, there's a lot of scriptures within the Bible that you can look at and say, wow, God is really, he's really angry. And he will turn his back away from it if we're in disobedience. That's the enemy's job, is to make our lives go to that place in opposition against the Lord. And to even have scriptures like that, as tough as that is to swallow, that's where the enemy is really trying to send us, to this position. It causes oppression. It causes pain on earth. We really need to consider the depths and details, to look at our business from an aerial point of view, and that aerial point of view is what we'll discuss in the next show. It's time for us to start walking in that kingdom walk. This pain does exist. This pain does roll through the earth. People feel it. And understand, most importantly, God hears it and God knows it. One thing that I learned in walking back to him is that, wow, you were there when I was doing that craziness. You saw it. You knew it. And so there's a level of importance and detail that we need to understand about how God sees life and how God sees our situations versus us. In our next show, we're going to talk about the kingdom business, and we're going to talk about how to walk back towards that opportunity to where God forgets our sins and we get into that great place with him. I want to make sure that everybody follows on Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Twitter, and just keep on sharing the show. But in the meantime, we have to get back to work. Have a good day. Bye-bye.